get my shoes and out the door. 5, I'm alive. 6, 7, 8, feeling great. 9, gonna shine, life is good. I'm doing fine. 10, gonna do it right and do it again, yeah. I look into the sky with all the beautiful color, but there's more than just for me, so gonna share it with another. I got to show, to give, let out. I want to sing and shout. Take a look and see a beautiful morning.
Been in here and people are roaring with laughter, so
it's a dirty show, though.
Well, it's clean dirt.
You have here the best of the best.
Yes.
So we have many celebrities here. The Harley Madison come over here, and the Usher come over here many often, and the Paris Hilton come here.
Boy, I'm dating myself, but it's okay. Nobody else will. Oh.
That's so Vegas.
How do you see the world?
Ha! At Shiner's Hospitals for Children, we know that changing how you see things can turn them into everyday miracles!
Like riding my bike.
Breaking boards! Ha! Hugging my mom!
Every day for over 90 years, Shriners Hospitals for Children has been sending love to the rescue, regardless of a family's ability to pay.
If you know a child we can help, call or go online now.
Welcome to That's So Vegas. I'm your host, Christine McKellar, and I'm here, as I always say, in the fabulous Las Vegas Arts District, downtown Las Vegas. And a perfect example of why Las Vegas is so fabulous is my guest here, Michelle Johnson.
Hello.
Welcome, my dear. You're also known as the First Lady of Jazz here, for those in the know. And for those who don't know, they'll know by the end of this episode. We're going to be seeing some of your performances on video. And also we're going to talk about, you have an exciting event coming up at the Smith Center in March. At the Jazz Cabaret, right?
Yes, at Myron's Cabaret Jazz.
Do you know that I remember when the Smith Center opened and the excitement in this town to finally have a venue like that, and then with all the talent here, and I'm not going to babble forever, I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of background. And having watched you perform, the way that you interpret songs, it's amazing. Some classics that a lot of people would know of many generations. But tell me a little bit about your musical background and what led you to jazz, because I know you cover different genres.
Well, the jazz genre wasn't the first thing I fell in love with. I actually grew up listening to a lot of Carole King and James Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a whole nother story, really.
That's my generation.
My passion. But the jazz thing happened because my parents owned a lot of jazz records, and I used to spend a lot of time when I was very young listening to different versions of the same song. So I would listen to Sarah Vaughan and Lena Horne and Frank Sinatra and Tony Bennett all doing their version of Misty, and I would memorize all the inflections of the different singers. And over time I realized these are standards. I learned what a standard was, and I just fell in love with the genre. And then I discovered Ella Fitzgerald, and that just changed my life.
Blew
changed
the top
way
off
I
your
sang,
head.
the way I hear music, and it's just always been one of many genres that I love, but it's the one that sort of stuck to me when I moved to Vegas and started singing.
When was that?
I moved here in '95,
and
so I've been here a while.
From
New York City.
Oh,
so
great, of course,
I'm a New
Big
Yorker.
Apple.
Yeah, but I grew up in Egypt, so it's a little odd background. Cairo, Egypt. Yeah, my parents were diplomats and an educator, and after that I went to Yale University, and after I graduated, I moved to New York and did the singing thing for a while, had a great time, but eventually decided I wanted to settle down and not be on the road. And that's how I ended up in Vegas.
Didn't you apply to Harvard as well? Or?
Well, I was going to. The plan originally was to go to Yale undergrad, get a good major. I majored in English, and then possibly go to law school. And if I was going to do that, it would have been, my first choice would have been Harvard, but I changed my mind.
So the singing kind of seduced you away from
I spent a lot of time at Yale singing and doing musicals and doing theater, and I did graduate, but it was definitely a challenge because I spent a lot of time in entertainment.
Did you do a minor in music or something like that? That would be a little crazy, but that sometimes works. Where did the music come from? Your mom, your dad, and especially if you're living in Cairo, Egypt. I mean, isn't that kind of, were you kind of lonely or something and then you turned to your music, or what was the lifelike there. Is
No
what
one's
I'm
ever
trying to
asked
get
me
at.
that question about what made me choose it. I mean, I started out, all of us took piano lessons. I have siblings, and that was kind of a thing we did. My parents are both very musical, so music was important. The arts were important. But I do think you're right that it was kind of like a friend. It was a very consistent friend. And so I went beyond the lessons and started singing and became fascinated with all these different records. And living over there, it was a big deal to actually be able to buy stateside records. I had to get the hookup with my friends who their parents worked at the State Department, and we would get records every summer if we came back to the States, and it was just a prized possession.
Interesting.
You know?
So you really learn to appreciate it, whereas some people in America we take a lot for granted.
Yeah.
And I imagine too in Cairo and especially in Egypt. So were there any? You have a really wonderful, fabulous way of what is the word? Scat, like the what do you call that when you
Scatting?
It
Yes.
is scatting.
Scat singing.
How old were you when you came back from Cairo?
Well, I graduated at age 18 high school, and then I went to Yale. So I moved back to the States when I was 18.
Oh, okay.
And went to college. And then moved to New York, and then moved to Vegas.
Were any of those Egyptian influences, did they carry through to your music interpretation, or what did you bring home from Egypt with you as far as...
I would say not so much a musical influence as a worldview influence, that we're all the same. And that people are people. I mean, I lived in other countries as well, and I think that I learned that music is a healer no matter what country you're in.
Well,
let's put it that way.
That's a lovely way to put it. Yes, it does. It reaches into the heart and into the soul, and it's... So this title, The First Lady of Jazz in Las Vegas, I can tell that you've earned it.
Thank you.
But again, you cover so many... really, like you said, you have the Sinatra, the James Taylor, a couple of songs I really love. You have available on, I guess it's on your website, the audio.
Yeah, if you
What
click
is your
on my
website again, just so we can repeat it for the viewers?
It's very easy to remember. It's myname.com, so it's michellejohnson.com.
Easy, Michelle with
Easy,
two L's.
easy. 2 L's, yes, please, 2 L's.
Right. But any Google search, don't love Google. It brings us all up all over the world.
Right.
Yeah.
There's another Michelle Johnson, who's a famous actress who was in Blame It on Rio. So if you are Googling me, make sure you put vocalist Michelle Johnson.
Oh, okay.
And also there's a famous opera singer whose name is Michelle Johnson. So that's not me. I'm not the opera singer, although I do sing opera.
Oh, I can imagine. What is that, Dorma?
Nessun Dorma.
Oh, yeah, that's beautiful.
Yes.
That's really... Is that hard to sing? Or?
Yes, it's hard as hell. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Very high.
Yes.
Soprano.
So, and with this show coming up, you're working with a lot of really interesting people. Who's your musical director?
My musical director is Joe Escriba. He's phenomenal. Great talent.
He's so Vegas.
He's very Vegas. He's written charts and done musical directing for a lot of different people, and he's actually a staple over at Legends in Concert.
Oh, yes,
so you can always find him over there.
We've had Legends on the show. It's always something. Were you in Legends?
No, I've never been able to do the impersonator thing. I thought about it, and I'm like, God, I don't think I could become anyone else. It's complicated enough being me. So,
welcome to my club. I know people
I'm
just
still trying to figure out how to be Michelle.
You don't understand. But you have done backup singing.
Yes,
Yeah, for some really
and that's
famous.
what this show is about. This show is March 2nd. It's a Friday. It's a
called
Smith
Flashlight?
Center. It's called Spotlight.
Excuse me, Spotlight.
It's called Spotlight, my journey from backstage to center stage. And it's about the experiences I've had working with lots of different celebrities. Because to me, I sort of took it for granted that my life went that route. But people ask me questions all the time. What was it like? What was this person like? What did you learn? What was it like to be on the road? What's it really like backstage?
Interesting. Yeah.
And after a few years, I thought, I should just put this in a show.
Well, I know a lot goes into a show because I do this every week.
Yes, you
It's
do.
just a little show, but I'm going to have to give a quick shout out to my sponsor because we just ate up this segment.
That's
It's
all right.
so much fun. And we'll be right back after this break. Do not go away. Don't forget the Red Roof Inn on Paradise across from the Hard Rock Hotel. They're pet friendly and close to the airport and Strip. And I'll be right back with Michelle Johnson. I can't wait. You can't wait. How often do you wish that you could grab a front row seat and for free to some of the greatest entertainment in Las Vegas? Would you like to feel like a VIP with behind-the-scenes access to who and what makes Las Vegas the entertainment capital of the world? That's So Vegas brings you up close and personal from the comfort of your home and or the comfort of your phone. Watch candid interviews with Vegas celebrities, entertainers, chefs, entrepreneurs, and visionaries. Like us on Facebook, join us on Twitter, and subscribe to our That's So Vegas TV channel to get each week's latest episodes. I'd like to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors, CR Realty Services here in the Las Vegas Arts District.
It's so fine to see your face at my door. I just wanna stop and thank you, baby. How sweet it is to be loved by you, baby.
Welcome back to That's So Vegas. I'm so glad you took my advice and did not go away. But I know they were sticking around for you, Michelle Johnson, the Las Vegas First Lady of Jazz here. I'm having so much fun with you. That first segment just
I know,
zipped right
flew by.
Gosh, and you've got the Smith Center, and I'm not going to say flashlight again. Or what else did we say? Pen light,
flashlight, strobe light.
Spotlight.
It's called Spotlight.
Yes, because you've had an incredible journey all the way from Cairo, Egypt, into Yale, and skipped Harvard. But that's because you love your music.
Yeah.
And you've put together a show, a production that's kind of like your journey there. And before we get into that, because we did mention it in the previous segment, and I find it fascinating. I know that you've sang backup to quite a few performers, and so does anything? Probably you have a sheet a mile long with that, but anybody in particular that you think the viewer would be interested that you enjoyed working with, or maybe was a learning curve? Or?
Well, my experience with Gladys Knight was pretty fascinating.
She was my neighbor.
She's such an icon, and also I learned a lot from her about protocol and etiquette and things like that. I just learned a lot from her about how to be. And I worked with Sheena Easton for several years, and we became friends. And she really shaped my ability to lead a band and to do my own production and sort of be in charge of my career. She really helped me a lot
By
with
lead
that.
a band, what do you mean? Just by with your voice?
You know,
or?
as a singer, a lot of times, especially as a female singer, we can often fall into this trap where someone else is in charge of everything, and that may work for some people, but I'm kind of an alpha personality. And I learned from Sheena and from Gladys and several other women that, you know, ultimately the buck stops with you. So you have to put your stamp on everything, you have to approve everything, and it's okay to be in charge. And that's something that narrative doesn't always come through when someone is starting out. It's great to have a musical director, but ultimately you're in charge of your brand. And I learned a lot from them about that.
That's interesting. I always have to throw this in, but Gladys was my neighbor for quite a while.
Right.
And we played tennis together
She's
at Green
fabulous.
Valley Sports Club. And she was kind of like that with us, too, because she was the one right there if there was a tournament or something coming up, as we're playing, telling us how good we are, as good as we think we are. And I mean, the woman is amazing.
She's very inspiring.
She is inspiring. So you're working with one of Las Vegas' own and beloved, Joe
Escriba.
Yeah, Escriba with this production.
Right.
And so how is that coming about, and how long have you been working on it? I mean, March isn't that far away.
No, I mean, this is in a little over just a few weeks away.
It is.
And Joe is great. Joe and I both, our brains are very similar. We're a little bit ADD, so when we get together, we can get along. We can jump around and not annoy each other.
Right.
But I love him because he has a great ear, and he knows how to pull together the right musicians for a project. And we have a lot of fun, and he's very skilled, and he writes great charts, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Now, by chart for the viewer, that's the whole process of how the production's going to go?
Well, you know, when people come to see a show, I think a lot of times they think these things just magically happen. Everyone just happens to know all the notes to every song, and everything just gels. And it's more complicated than that. And a chart is really a piece of paper or electronics, like on an iPad or something, with the chords and the notes to the music. It's sheet music, but it's also a map so that everybody knows where they're going. And if you have good charts, there are labels on them so that if you're doing this live and you change your mind and want to go back to the chorus or the bridge, there's a map to say, hey, go back over here or go over here. And those are things that happen seamlessly if you have a good band without the audience necessarily being aware of it.
Right.
And when you have great musicians, they're able to look at it but not have what we say, keep your nose in it. We don't want your nose in the chart where you're just staring at it. And so finding musicians who can strike that balance and also have fun on stage and enjoy the music for its own sake is not necessarily an automatic task. And
you know, I'm so glad that we are talking about this, because I've often wondered, like, you would think sometimes I've been to this symphony and I'm supportive of the opera here in Vegas, but when you see them and you think, well, gosh, you know, well, one part of your brain says, well, they must have played that song 1,000 times. Why is he still looking at the sheet music? But the other part of your brain, I mean, when you can see how many elements is that, and they're all seamlessly together. And then there is the singer. So if you were to go off key or miss a note, do they pick you up or back you up?
Oh, that's a whole nother show.
Okie doke. Well, I'm game.
I guess I never thought about that. If you go off key, does your band pick you up? I would say no. They probably just roll their eyes and laugh or cringe, depending on how out of tune you are. And vice versa. If I have a musician that makes a mistake or something like that, you just have to keep going. I mean, that adage that the show must go on is true, and it's live.
Right.
And one thing that's happened to me over the years is that I've learned to give myself a break if things don't go perfectly. That's part of the live
Isn't that just part
show.
of getting older?
It is. It is. It's part of getting older, and it also, you have to accept that if you're going to be performing live. And that's something I learned from these different people I sang with. You know, when you do studio stuff, like I did some backgrounds for Elton John, and you can keep fixing it over and over. You can perfect it. So of course, his album comes out. It was his duets album, one of his duets albums, and everything's perfect. Everyone's vocals are perfect. It's mixed. That's different. But when you're live, no matter who you are, no matter what legend, there's going to be a moment where it's not perfect. And if you can't jump past that, you're not going to have fun on stage.
And it is kind of like, we all want to have fun. I mean, it's great when you get to do what you love, and obviously you are doing what you love, even though your master was English. Yeah. I know, but still, but look how articulate you are.
Oh,
this is wonderful. And,
see, Mom, I am using my degree.
Mom, you should be very proud of her. And she's beautiful and personable, and you have everything and all this energy, and it's all going on. Kind of like when, you know, like you said, though, the show does go on. Like, are you watching the Olympics? And when the beautiful ice skaters, but when they fall, they get right back up.
You get back up.
And you do get points, whether it's on one level or the other, for that courage.
That's
to
a great
keep
analogy.
going.
I think I'm going to use that when I have a problem. I'll just say, that was just a triplet's gone bad.
Yes.
Can I use that?
I have the courage to get up and carry on.
That's right. And that's what the show is about. It's about persistence. It's part juicy stories, no gossip that's, you know, that I'm not supposed to say, but just stories about these people's personalities and what it's like to work with them. But it's also about perseverance. I've had a lot of dips in my life, and I've used music to jump past those obstacles and keep going. It's, like you said earlier, it's really been like a friend.
Oh, I think that is really lovely. We have to take a break.
Oh, okay.
I'm just like, that's crazy. A quick shout out to the Red Roof Inn. They're on Paradise, pet friendly, free Wi-Fi and breakfast, continental breakfast for guests. And I'm just dying to come back for this next segment, so don't go away. I won't let you go away. You have to come right back. We'll see you in a minute.
It's pretty amazing when you consider that 7 years ago, we didn't have the treatments we have now. We cure 80% of children with cancer. If you think about that, I mean, go back 50 years, we were curing 20 to 30%. This is the miracle story of modern medicine. We understand what makes this cancer tick. And of course, without donors from around the world, this just couldn't happen. And there's one thing we're focused on here at St. Jude, and that's beating this thing.
That's So Vegas. I'm still here, and I'm so happy that I have Michelle Johnson here, the First Lady of Jazz in Las Vegas. You have a show coming up, Spotlight.
Yes.
You are going to be in the Spotlight at the Smith Center, and we talked briefly about just some of the really wonderful performers that you've sang backup with and learned and grown. You have grown from these people.
I have.
And it helped shape you into the fantastic performer that you are today. But you have a lot of natural talent.
Thank you.
Anyway, your voice is just amazing. I love how you do the jazz scat and all that. But viewers, you can catch clips on your website. You can get a sample, but really tickets are available and selling for the event at the Smith Center.
That's right.
The Spotlight. So tell us more about this production, because I know it's very special to you.
Well, I've been really blessed to have been at the Smith Center before.
Yeah.
And specifically, this is in Myron's Cabaret Jazz. It's a really intimate room.
I love
it.
that
It only
room.
holds 241 people. So it has this nice, cozy feel, but it also has a beautiful stage, and the acoustics are perfect, so you feel like you're in a hall, but it's small. It's a brilliant, brilliant work of architecture.
Yes.
Because you can feel closed in, and yet you can do big productions there. I've done a lot of stuff there, and most of the things I've done have been tributes. I do a Carole King show called Tapestry Unraveled. I did a tribute to Prince with a bunch of celebs from the Strip. And I did something called Strictly Taboo, which was a tribute to the great ladies of jazz for Ella's birthday. So those were all, had a theme of celebrating someone. This is the first time I'm doing a show that's specifically about me and my career and how I've been influenced. And so the show is part storytelling, finding out stories about these different people I've worked with. And it's also part my journey away from those people and becoming a songwriter and doing my own thing. And I would say ultimately it's about a self-empowerment, especially for women, and how if you focus on things, you can achieve them. So it's kind of a feel-good show.
So you've kind of woven a tapestry of your own.
Yes.
And so as you've probably, do you tell stories as you weave the songs together?
Yes.
And then each story is
moves on to the next phase.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
It's not necessarily chronological, but it's just a little snippet into what this life is like from another perspective. If you think of yourself as standing on the side of the stage, like my hubby and I have a company that does backline where we provide the instruments and amps and things for people when they're on tour. And so a lot of times at the shows, we'll be standing backstage in the wings watching the show that way.
Right.
And in a way, this is the same thing. It's like you're coming with me backstage and seeing it from my perspective. And it's just changes things. It changes the way you see musicians. I want people to realize that we are human beings.
Right.
And we're people just like you with our own travails and our own challenges. And
what inspired this show? Do you have a backer? How does this?
What really inspired it was I found a producer, or we kind of found each other, who wants to produce an album of mine, of my originals. And my originals have been sort of sitting dusty on the shelf, and I've been avoiding them because it's easier to market yourself when you're doing tributes and themes. Everybody already knows the songs.
Exactly.
You've got a hook. And he pushed me when I went to him, and he's got this Grammy. His name is Kamal Kenyatta, and he's got this Grammy sitting on his piano. And I'm staring at it, and I'm thinking, we're going to do a great jazz tribute album. And he says, well, let me hear a couple of your songs. And I played one, and he said, oh, no, we're going to do your stuff. Ooh. And it started making me think, my story is valid. My originals, my story. And I decided to just close my eyes and jump in and do something that's a little more personal and not as safe. And the tickets are selling, so
What
it's
can you-
working.
Not only that, again, and we talked even a little bit about that as part of the maturing.
Yeah.
And you had to, look at all the great tips that you picked up, and then being in the presence of, and they all had to pay their dues too.
Yeah, and finding out, like I said, finding out that these people are real and that they have their ups and downs too, and realizing that I'm a type A type of person, so once I accomplish something, I don't celebrate for more than maybe 20 minutes, and then I put it away.
Right.
And I'm trying to take a step back and walk that balance between not wanting to be like, hey, look at me, I'm the greatest, because I don't believe that, but also saying, you know what, I've done some stuff.
Right.
And it's worth talking about and maybe inspiring someone. And that balance is kind of what the show's about, and that's why it's called Spotlight.
And how long is the production?
It's about 90 minutes.
Okay, that's
maybe a little
perfect.
shorter.
Right.
Yeah.
And like you said, I love that venue.
Oh,
It's amazing, and
beautiful.
they have bar service and
Yes.
service and
Myron Martin
right.
gave us such a gem in this city, for not just for locals, but for people who do interesting cabaret acts in New York and all over the world. And the crew at the Smith Center is outstanding. The
That's what I've
sound
heard.
crew,
Right.
they're fabulous.
Yeah. The
Kevin
creme de la
Harvey,
creme.
mwah. And so it's one of. I mean, I play at other places too. I'm going to be at the Space, which is
Right.
another great venue.
Love it.
Going to be
Mark
there
Schmidt.
April 24th, doing a tribute to Ella Fitzgerald for her birthday. And I sing with the Platters, and we go all over the place with Sonny Turner. So
Yeah, I can tell you have a really good
Do a
time
lot
with
of
what you
things.
do. I think
Yeah.
it's just wonderful. And,
Thank you.
Not everybody gets to do what they love, as far as being in a profession, getting paid for it and having it.
Yeah.
And this is our short segment, so we're going to have to wrap up in a minute. But
All
I
right.
did want to ask you, how happy are you just to be settled here in Las Vegas and you're not on tour anymore? I mean, you probably can't, you do tour a bit, but...
I tour a bit, but honestly, that's what led me here. Was I had been on the road with a lot of different rock acts, and I've had these crazy experiences. I got to work with Slash, I got to work with Paul McCartney, crazy stories, but I'm really a homebody.
Right.
So Vegas gives me the option of being in a city where all the entertainers come to you, and you can
Exactly.
get these great backup gigs, and now I can do my own thing without being as harried as I was in New York. Not that I don't miss it, I do.
Right,
I miss
but-
the bagels. But I'm not doing carbs right now, so it's probably a good thing
It
that
all
I'm
works
not
out.
there.
It all works for the highest good, right?
Yes,
Doesn't it?
yes. So
My goodness.
I'm happy.
Well, that's so Vegas. I mean, when people come, that's why, and that's why I love my show. I meet the most interesting
Thank you
people.
so
and,
much.
It's going to be really interesting to come see. I can't wait to
March
come see the
2nd,
show.
Friday.
I'm going to be there.
You are gonna be there.
Yeah. So, and everybody else should be there. I see no reason why not. There are still tickets available.
There are still tickets available, and I encourage people to come out and see this local talent. Sometimes that sounds like a, local talent. What's that? Well, in this town, local talent is primo.
It really
and people need
is.
to come out and support, and also
Absolutely.
learn something about the business from people who are insiders. I mean, it's going to be fun.
So it's going to be exciting in March. There you are at the Cabaret at the Smith Center, and the spotlight is on you.
Thank you. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, it's going to be just a walk through your life, and like you said, you're going to be showing people just what it's like looking in from the outside. That reminds me of an album way back in the day. I don't even know why that came into my head. Savoy Brown.
Who knows?
we were talking about your whole journey and how you've listened to all the greats. And but one thing I did mean to ask you is you did seem to center on jazz when you can do so many other genres. And is your show mostly jazz, or is it again?
I think there's maybe one jazz moment in the whole show.
Okay.
So I don't want that moniker to get people confused.
Right.
That's a genre that I've embraced and am known for. But this is going to be rock and roll. You're going to hear songs by Paul McCartney, Elton John, Sheena Easton, Gladys Knight. None of that is jazz. And there are a bunch of other artists I've worked with, some country artists. So this is more of a smorgasbord of music. And there's hit songs that everybody loves. So I don't think you're going to come away thinking, oh, why wasn't that a jazz show? You're going to come away thinking, those were a lot of artists, and I never knew those stories.
Plus, there are going to be songs that we resonate to.
Exactly.
And that's important because, the songs take me back. They can take me back even decades before I was born because my parents listened to them. You know, I could just keep you here forever. How about
Thank you, Christine.
Well, we'll see you after the performance. It's March.
Definitely. I'm doing a meet and greet right after the show.
And also,
happy to talk to people.
I love that. And I'd like to have you come back on the show and maybe bring your musical director or something and
That'd
we
be
talk a
great.
little bit more about that.
Yes.
Boy, oh boy, this time has flown. I have to give a quick shout out again to the Red Roof Inn. Stay tuned for some of the latest Vegas entertainment updates. And until next week, I'm Christine McKellar, and that's So Vegas. I'm Christine McKellar, the publisher of VegasOnlyEntertainment.com. I'm here with this week's latest Vegas entertainment updates. The 8th Great Vegas Festival of Beer will return for 2 days downtown Las Vegas on Friday and Saturday, April 6th and 7th, and will coincide with National Beer Day. Produced by Motley Brews, more than 500 beers and 10,000 attendees are expected to participate throughout the 2-day event. A real favorite here in Las Vegas, the upscale Food, Wine, and Spirits Festival, Vegas Uncorked by Bon Appetit, will return May 10th through the 13th with another extraordinary lineup of world-renowned chefs, master sommeliers, and cutting-edge mixologists from Caesar's Palace, the Cosmopolitan, the Cromwell, MGM Resorts International, the Venetian, and the Palazzo. What a lineup. The 12th Annual Epicurean Affair will feature fan favorites such as Bobby Flay, Giada De Laurentiis, Gordon Ramsay, Guy Savoy, Julian Serrano, Lorena Garcia, Masuhari Muramoto, Michael Mina, Nobu Matsuhisa, Stefan Hopcraft, and more. What a lineup. Southern Glaciers Wine and Spirits of Nevada will return as the official distributor. Tickets are on sale now. Visit their website. Fremont Street Experience, the 5-block entertainment district downtown, will celebrate NASCAR weekend with free non-stop live entertainment and a performance by 38 Special on Saturday, March 3rd at 9 p.m. on the 3rd Street stage. The 15th annual Race Jam celebration is open to fans of all ages with no charge for admission. Queen Bee Market will hold a 2-day market in Las Vegas on Friday and Saturday, March 9th and 10th at the Conference Center of Las Vegas. The Urban Style Handmade Market features more than 70 vendors who make their products by hand. This will be the 23rd Queen Bee Market since its creation in 2010 and the second one here in Las Vegas. Tickets are $5 at the door. Children 12 and younger and military with ID receive free entry. Browse our VegasOnlyEntertainment.com site for some really fabulous Chinese New Year events. This is the Year of the Dog, and the latest concert lineups including Paul Simon, Pink, Walk Off the Earth, and much more. Till next week, I'm Christine McKellar, and that's So Vegas.
1, 2, 3, 4, get my shoes and out the door. 5, I'm alive. 6, 7, 8, feeling great. 9, gonna shine, life is good. I'm doing fine. 10, gonna do it right and do it again, yeah.